Imagine for a moment that you walk into a room and you instantly feel the vibe.
Oh, absolutely. We've all experienced this, right?
Exactly. I mean, you walk into an ancient temple or, say, a quiet library, or even just a friend's living room right after they've had a really bitter argument. There's this palpable atmosphere.
Right, a real thickness in the air.
Yes. But usually we just dismiss this as a metaphor, isn't it? Like it's just a subjective feeling. But what if that vibe could actually be statistically measured?
No, that is the real question.
What if it could be amplified and, even stabilized using ancient geometry? That is exactly what an international research team attempted to figure out with Project Resonance.
Project Resonance, yes, rooted in the heart.
Right. It was this massive 8-week global experiment conducted between April and June of 2026. And welcome, everyone, to our deep dive today. We are going to unpack all of this.
And see, the thing is, we are so accustomed to viewing our emotions and our intentions as these invisible, deeply private things that stop right at the boundary of our own skin.
Yeah, that they don't affect the outside world.
Exactly. But this experiment challenges that fundamental assumption entirely. Today, we are looking at a massive stack of sources. I mean, scientific and narrative reports, slide decks, participant feedback.
It's a lot of data. Over 300 people across 22 countries, right?
Yes, focusing heavily on two major cohorts in Europe and India. And the central hypothesis driving all of this data is quite striking, actually. It is simply this. We build the field, and the field builds us.
I love that phrasing. We build the field, and the field builds us. So today we're going to break down exactly how this team attempted to measure human intention.
And how that intention actually affected the participants' bodies and minds.
Right, and how you, listening to this right now, might eventually interface with this unfolding research. Because while we are throwing around terms like quantum science and bioenergetic concepts, our goal is to make this as relatable as, well, a shared heartbeat.
Which is exactly what they were studying.
Yeah.
But to measure a phenomenon this vast, you cannot just rely on people meditating whenever the mood strikes them.
Right, you need a system.
Exactly, a highly structured architecture. The 8-week experiment ran on a very specific cadence. Participants engaged in self-paced heart coherence practices throughout the week, but these were anchored by synchronized weekly Zoom gatherings.
So everyone logging on together?
Yes. If you were Europe, you joined on Tuesday evenings. If you were in India, you joined on Sunday afternoons.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because before we go any further, we really need to understand what a heart coherence practice actually is.
It's not just regular meditation.
Right. It sounds nice, but what were these 300 people actually doing in their living rooms? From the source material, it wasn't just, sitting quietly and emptying the mind.
No, not at all. It is a very active, structured process. You deliberately focus your attention on the physical area of your heart. You slow your breathing to a specific rhythm.
And then you intentionally generate a regenerative feeling, right? Like profound gratitude or compassion.
Exactly. You are actively changing your physiological state. You're sending a different neurological signal to your brain. And the intent here is crucial.
So it wasn't just for personal relaxation.
Right. The goal for these participants was a collective effort. They were intentionally trying to generate what the researchers called a unified heart field, or UHF.
But they didn't just rely on human beings sitting in isolation, which is where this gets really wild. They anchored this human energy to a physical grid.
The sacred sites.
Yes. Think of it like setting up a global Wi-Fi network. If human heart coherence, our shared emotional intention, is the data being transmitted, then the physical structures they used acted as the physical routers and the signal amplifiers.
That's a perfect analogy. And to take that Wi-Fi analogy a step further, adding the specific sacred sites in India was like upgrading from a local home router to a massive global fiber optic network.
Okay.
They utilized an existing network of 8 global pyramids that had been established in earlier phases, but for this 2026 experiment, they expanded deeply into Indian sacred geometry.
The locations they chose are just deeply fascinating. I mean, first, they used the Pyramid Valley International Mega Pyramid near Bengaluru as a major stabilizing anchor.
Have you seen photos of it? It's incredible.
Yes. If you haven't seen it, it is this massive, precisely aligned structure designed specifically to house thousands of meditators. It's beautiful. Then they layered in the energy of the Kamakya Shakti Peeth in eastern India.
Which in the Indian tradition is so important. A Shakti Peeth is a center of primordial, dynamic, transformative energy.
Right, the real raw power of the earth. And they also integrated Jayutsars in Kurukshetra.
Ah, the Bhagavad Gita stall.
Exactly. This is the exact location where the Gita was spoken. And in the context of the experiment, this provided an ordering symbolism, right? A deeply ingrained cultural field of dharma and karma.
Righteous action and duty, yes.
And then, to connect back to the purest source transmission, they included the Mahavatar Babaji cave in the Himalayas. And finally, Quantum Life University in Hyderabad served as this coordination node, just pulling it all together.
So we have this massive global Wi-Fi network of human intention structured across time and anchored to ancient geometry and these highly charged sacred sites.
Which naturally leads us to the most critical question of this whole deep dive. If you build it, how do you know if the Wi-Fi is actually turned on?
Right. How do you measure the invisible?
Exactly.
Well, the research team used multiple streams of measurement across different continents. Because, see, you simply cannot capture a phenomenon this complex with just one tool. You need to look at it from different scientific and energetic angles.
Okay, so let's look at the European data first, because I have to admit, when I was prepping for this, I read this part of the report with a lot of skepticism.
The geobiology measurements.
Yes. The European geobiologists used something called the Bovis Sacred Connection, or the BSC scale, and they took independent weekly measurements using pendulums, direct biofield sensing, and Lecher antennas.
I could see why you were skeptical.
I mean, I need you to explain this, because to a lot of people listening, swinging a pendulum on a string or using an antenna sounds, well, closer to a magic trick than a rigorous scientific study. How is this a valid measurement?
It is entirely fair to be skeptical, but in geobiology, these tools are not used for, fortune telling or anything like that. They're used to detect subtle energetic frequencies.
Okay, so how does an antenna do that?
Take a Lecher antenna, for instance. It is based on principles originally developed by physicists to measure wavelengths. Geobiologists use it to measure the subtle energetic resonance of a space or a field. And the Bovis scale is essentially a unit of measurement for life force or vitality.
So they were measuring how much life was in the field.
Exactly. What the European team was doing was taking weekly independent readings of the field's overall vitality.
And the numbers they reported are, frankly, staggering. I mean, on April 18th, they recorded a baseline measurement of 768 kbsc.
This is a decent baseline?
But then, by July 14th, that measurement had skyrocketed to 81,100 kbsc.
Yes. It's massive.
That is a 105.6 times growth in the field's vitality. And across those entire 8 weeks, the team recorded 0 weekly reversals.
Not at all.
The field strength just consistently climbed every single week.
It never once degraded.
Yeah.
But acknowledging that geobiology can feel a bit abstract for some, the Indian research team ran a completely different, highly statistical measurement in parallel.
Right, the RNGs.
Yes, continuous random number generator, or RNG research.
Now, I want to push back on this one too, because this is where the mechanics can get very confusing.
Unpack it.
The RNG devices are essentially computer chips, right? They just spit out continuous streams of random zeros and ones.
Correct. Just pure randomness.
So how does a machine generating random numbers actually detect a heart field? Is it like measuring healing energy floating through the air and hitting the computer?
No, they do not directly measure healing or energy or emotion at all.
Then what are they doing?
They measure statistical anomalies in the physical environment. See, in a normal state, an RNG produces a perfectly random distribution of data. It's completely unpredictable. But years of research, and this dates all the way back to the Global Consciousness Project at Princeton.
Oh, right, where they measured global events like New Year's Eve.
Exactly. That research has shown that when a large group of people focus their intention or experience a synchronized emotional state, the physical environment itself becomes slightly less random.
That is just wild to me.
It is. The RNG data reliably shows statistical spikes. Basically, order begins to emerge from the randomness in the computer chip just because human beings nearby are focusing their minds.
Wow. And what's fascinating here is that the RNG didn't just show the field getting louder or stronger the way the European pendulum data did.
Right. It showed something much deeper.
Yes, the researchers used something called a field resonance model to interpret these recurring patterns in the numbers, and it showed the field getting more organized.
Structured.
Right. And they categorized this organization into 3 distinct rhythms, drawing on ancient Sanskrit frameworks.
They called them manas, prana, and buddhi. And these terms perfectly describe the statistical thresholds they were actually observing in the data.
Okay, so walk us through those. Manas is the first one.
Yes. Manas translates roughly to the mind, the fast outer regulatory rhythm. It represents attention and early stabilization. So if you were monitoring the RNG data, you would see many fast manas events in a single day as the participants tuned in and focused.
Like the initial connection.
Exactly. Then there was prana, the middle mobilization rhythm.
And prana usually means breath or life force, right?
Yes, in this context, it represents activation, the actual transmission of energy across the network. The data shows this as a more sustained, powerful wave.
And finally, there's booty.
Booty, which is the intellect or wisdom layer. In the data, this was the core integrative rhythm. It represented the deepest, most sustained level of reorganization and patterning in the field.
Meaning it's not just a quick thought, it's a deep shift.
Exactly. It takes a massive amount of sustained coherence to trigger a true booty event on these sensors.
So, okay, let's recap where we are. The field is built, and it is undeniably measured. It is growing 105 times stronger, according to the geobiologists.
And it is organizing into these complex statistical rhythms according to the computer chips.
Right. But that is only the first half of the hypothesis. Remember, we build the field. The second half is, did the field build us?
Did participating in this network actually change the human beings involved?
Exactly. So to answer that, the researchers moved from the macro environmental data down to the micro human experience. Did they actually feel any different?
They did. The researchers conducted 2 complementary studies to see what was happening inside the participants' own bodies and minds.
Let's start with Europe. They ran a comprehensive well-being study, and they managed to get 22 confidently matched pairs of before and after surveys.
Which is a solid sample size for this kind of deep qualitative tracking.
Definitely. And out of 19 tracked well-being parameters, and these covered physical, emotional, cognitive, and spiritual aspects, 17 of them moved in a highly favorable direction.
The statistical significance in those jumps is quite revealing, actually. General physical condition improved by plus 0.77. Spiritual connection jumped by plus 0.70.
But the big one was self-esteem, wasn't it?
Yes. Self-esteem showed the largest significant paired gain at plus 1.09.
Which is huge. I mean, self-esteem is typically a very rigid psychological trait. You don't just meditate for a few weeks and completely change how you view your own worth.
Not unless something profound is shifting in your neurobiology.
Right. And we know they were actually doing the work because regular heart coherence practice among the participants nearly doubled during the study. It went from 33.3% to 65.1%.
People were motivated because they were feeling the effects, but see, the Indian bioenergetic evaluation gives us a completely different lens on how that human transformation actually happens on a physiological level.
Yes, and this part is fascinating. They used an Ayurvedic diagnostic component called Jiva Parikha, or tongue analysis.
On 35 paired cases.
Now, looking at someone's tongue before and after an 8-week meditation program, I mean, that sounds highly unusual to Western science, right?
It does, yes.
But the data it yielded was incredibly specific. I have to ask, how does a tongue tell you if a subtle energy field is affecting someone?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of Ayurveda, the tongue is literally viewed as a map of your internal system.
A physical map on the tongue itself.
Exactly. The center of the tongue relates to the stomach and the agniyama state. That's your deep digestive fire and any metabolic blockages or toxins.
Okay.
But the tip of the tongue, however, relates directly to the heart and the emotional field.
And the most crucial diagnostic finding from these 35 cases was this: vitality shifts first.
Precisely. This is key. Before the researchers saw any changes in the deep physical or digestive patterns, the agniyama state we just mentioned, the Ayurvedic practitioners, saw early pranic movement in the surface vitality of the tongue.
Meaning things like the sheen of the tongue, the tone of the edges.
Yes, and even localized heat on the tongue.
Wow.
The biofield, the subtle life force, or pranashakti, it responded to the heart coherence practice way before the gross physical structures of the body did.
Okay, let's use an analogy here to make this tangible for everyone listening.
Sure.
It's like looking at a house in the dead of winter. You walk inside and you turn on the furnace. Now, before the internal structural temperature of the heavy walls and the thick floorboards fully rises, I mean, before the whole house is actually warm, you first see the frost melting off the outside of the windows.
Yes.
The vital energy, that surface layer, shows the earliest signs of systemic change.
That is exactly it. The subtle energy always moves before the physical matter. For some strong responders in the study, they actually saw direct correlations between the psychological questionnaire improvements and this visible tongue vitality.
So they felt better, and their tongue literally looked more vital.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even for the mixed responders, People where the gross physical pattern on the tongue remained exactly the same. The practitioners could still detect that early pranic movement on the surface.
That is incredible. It suggests that our subtle bodies are highly responsive to these shared intention fields, even if it takes a lot longer for the dense physical body to catch up.
Exactly. It's working even if you don't feel it in your digestion yet.
Which brings us to the grand finale of the project.
Ah, the solstice.
Yes, the summer solstice. And here is where it gets really interesting. Because you would logically assume that the culminating event, this biggest global gathering of all these participants on June 21st, would be the loudest moment in the data.
Right, you would think so. You have maximum participation, maximum focus.
You would expect the RNG computer chips to just explode with activity.
But the data showed the exact opposite.
Right. During the solstice window, from June 16th to the 22nd, the broad activity, those fast manas and prana rhythms we talked about, actually dropped significantly.
But the deep conversion to Buddhi, that profound integrative reorganization that leaped to 30.6%.
The field wasn't at its loudest, it was at its most deeply integrated.
It was a critical pivot in the data. It tells us that true collective coherence isn't about creating a massive amount of energetic noise or excitement.
Right.
It is about depth, efficiency, and profound organization. The lower breadth of surface noise allowed for greater depth efficiency.
It is exactly like a symphony, isn't it?
So I like that.
I mean, the loudest part of a concert, the crashing cymbals, isn't necessarily the most complex or the most moving part. Sometimes the most powerful moment is when the entire orchestra drops down to a whisper, playing in perfect, intricate harmony.
Yes.
That is when you feel the deepest impact.
Beautifully put. And what followed that solstice symphony is perhaps the most important finding in the entire pilot study. The project formally ended on June 21st. The weekly Zoom gatherings stopped.
Everyone went home, so to speak.
Exactly. But the field did not turn off.
The Wi-Fi stayed on.
It did. Post-solstice, moving into July, the RNG data show the field continuing to consolidate its organization. The Bovis vitality measurements continued to rise. The field persisted entirely on its own, without those synchronized weekly gatherings driving it.
That is just mind-blowing. The participants built the field, and then the field took on a life of its own. It stabilized.
And because it stabilized, the research team is now looking at how we can continue to interact with it. The sources we reviewed detailed the introduction of future physical interfaces.
Specifically, the Soham Yantra and the lab resonance pyramid, right?
Yes, and this raises an important question for the future of this work. Now that a stable, organized field architecture actually exists, how do we couple with it?
How do we log in? Exactly.
The Soham Yantra, which is a highly specific geometric design, and the physical resonance pyramid are being proposed as portable, personal interfaces. As a way for individuals to consciously tune their own frequency into this persistent unified heart field directly from their own homes at any time.
It's like they've left the server running, and now they are handing out login passwords in the form of geometry.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And this is why the researchers are so emphatic that this 2026 pilot was not closure. It was simply the foundation. They have proven the concept.
So what comes next?
Now they want to move into randomized, controlled global testing. They want to start tracking hard physiological data, things like heart rate variability, sleep metrics, autonomic recovery.
To see exactly how logging into this persistent field changes the gross physical human body over time.
Exactly. And, the excitement in the participant feedback is just palpable. People were saying things like, a beautiful soul family is creating an evolutionary force.
I saw a quote from a participant in Malaysia who asked, "I hope the 8-week meditation can remain open to us." People are already asking if they can bring their eco-villages and their local communities into the next phase.
They felt the connection emotionally and spiritually long before the statistical data proved it was there.
Absolutely. So, to summarize the achievements of Project Resonance today, they successfully created a multimodal research platform. They proved that a collective coherence field could be intentionally generated by an organized group of participants across 22 countries.
They proved it could be measured too, watching it grow 105 times its baseline vitality, while simultaneously organizing into distinct, measurable statistical rhythms.
And they correlated that growing field with measurable improvements in human well-being and bioenergetic vitality, observing the subtle prana shifting in the participants in real time.
It is a rare opportunity, truly, to see ancient Ayurvedic principles and sacred geometric anchoring validated by modern statistical modeling.
And the best part is, this research is ongoing. They are actively looking for new communities to join future cycles. You are invited to eventually participate in this incredible intersection of quantum science and ancient heart-based living. You can actually become a node in the grid yourself.
I highly recommend keeping an eye out for their next phase.
So, what does this all mean for us today? We started by talking about the vibe of a room. We've just spent this time looking at how an organized group of strangers, separated by oceans, can intentionally build a measurable, persistent field of energy that literally improves the physical vitality of those connected to it.
Which is a beautiful thought.
It is, but it leaves us with one final, entirely new implication to consider.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if we are moving toward a future where a global unified heart field exists, a bioenergetic Wi-Fi network that anyone can log into using a portable pyramid on their desk who governs that field.
Ah, that is the question, isn't it?
Exactly. If millions of people are logged into the same energetic network receiving its benefits, well, what happens if a bad actor tries to introduce a virus of fear, panic, or division into that same network?
It's a very sobering thought.
If our intentions are truly this powerful and this interconnected, then regulating our own hearts isn't just a personal wellness practice anymore. It becomes a matter of global energetic security.
We all become responsible for the network.
Exactly. Are you contributing coherence to the network, or are you introducing static? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep your heart open, and we'll see you in the field.